Hi and welcome. Before we start this powerful story, I'd love to invite you to join this growing community. If you enjoy real, emotional stories that inspire and make you think, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it helps a lot. You liked this video, give it a thumbs up and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, are you ready to hear a story that might just change the way you see everything? Let's get into it. Asterisk, a billionaire walked in and saw his black maid nursing his son. The next 10 seconds changed everything. What he did stunned even her. Asterisk Richard. Crane lived in a house where even the clocks ticked in silence. It was a mansion of glass and marble, cold, pristine, and untouched. His wife Eliza had passed away during childbirth, and ever since that stormy night, Richard had changed. From the outside, he was the picture of control. Billionaire tech mogul, IPO king, the man who could move markets with a glance. But inside, he hadn't held his son once. Not in 9 months. He told himself he was grieving, that business needed his attention, that the best nannies and nurses money could buy would do just fine. But deep down, he was scared of holding his son and seeing Eliza's eyes, scared of feeling anything at all, so he stayed away. And Daniel, his newborn son, was raised by strangers until Ruth came. Asterisk, she didn't arrive in a limo like the other help. Ruth Emanuel stepped off a bus, worn shoes and all, with just one small suitcase and a lunch her daughter packed. She was old school, from a different world. She didn't have a fancy resume, no Ivy League nanny training, no degrees in early childhood development. What she had was history. 30 years of caring for children, white children, rich children, forgotten children, and every child she held remembered her. Her presence was soft, like a lullaby you didn't realize you missed. She spoke little, but when she looked at Daniel, the crying stopped. When she touched him, he calmed, and when she held him, he smiled. The other staff whispered, "That woman has something," the head chef once said. "She carries peace in her arms." Ruth never spoke of her past, not the baby she'd lost at birth, not the husband buried young, not the nights she cried alone in a shared apartment. She just gave love, quietly, fully, without asking for anything in return. Asterisk, it was a Monday. Richard was on a call with international investors. Deals were closing. People were watching. But then through the Bluetooth in his Bentley he heard it, a baby's cry. It pierced through the static of money and markets. Something inside him stirred, and for the first time since Eliza's death, he turned the car around. He walked through the foyer, past marble statues, and up the winding staircase. Every step felt like thunder in a house that hadn't known his presence in weeks. He reached the nursery and opened the door. Then he froze. There was Ruth sitting in the antique rocking chair, her blouse gently parted, nursing his son, Daniel's. Tiny hands were resting on her chest, her head tilted down, eyes closed, humming a hymn older than the walls. The room was still. The moment, sacred. And then it shattered. "What do you think you're doing?" His voice cracked the silence. Like lightning. Ruth stood slowly, shielding Daniel, startled but not afraid. "He wouldn't eat, sir," she said, her voice soft but unwavering. "He was hungry, and he wouldn't take the bottle." You can't, that's my son." Richard's fists clenched, his face flushed with anger, confusion, shame. But Daniel had fallen asleep, a tiny smile on his lips. Asterisk, they stood like statues, Ruth gently bouncing the sleeping baby. Richard chest heaving, staring at something he couldn't understand. This wasn't about nursing. Not really. It was about power, about boundaries, about grief, about an empire too sterile to let love in, and it was about a woman black, poor, and plain doing what even he could not. Giving comfort to a child. Suddenly, the yelling stopped. The tension broke, because Richard saw what was in front of him. His son wasn't crying. His son wasn't cold. His son was held, and something in Richard's hardened soul began to crack. Later that evening, Ruth knocked on the study door. She didn't want to leave in silence. "Mr. Crane," she said, standing firm, "I did what I felt was right. You can fire me. I'll leave now. But I don't regret it." He didn't look up, but he said, barely above a whisper, "He stopped crying." "Yes, sir," she nodded. "Sometimes a baby needs a heartbeat more than a bottle." A tear slid down his cheek. He didn't wipe it. "Did he call you?" "Anything," he tried to say. "Mama," but I told him, "I'm just someone who loves him." Richard didn't sleep that night. He stared at the baby monitor, watched the recordings, and saw something wealth had never taught him. Connection is not bought. It's given. Woe. Weeks passed. Then Ruth received a letter. It was handwritten by Richard. "Dear Ruth, I cannot erase what this world has made you endure. I cannot erase what I didn't see in my own house, but I can start seeing now. You gave my son what I was too broken to give, and for that you have my trust, my home, my name. Daniel will grow up knowing two mothers, and one of them is you. With respect and gratitude, Richard Crane." Attached was a deed to a home of her own, a fund for the school her neighborhood never had, and a position head of childcare not just for Daniel, but for dozens of children his company would now support in underserved communities. Ruth cried, not for the money, not for the power, but because someone saw her. Finally. The tabloids tried to twist it. Billionaire caught in controversy with Maid, but the truth couldn't be hidden. People felt this story, and when Ruth stood beside Richard at the foundation launch, holding Daniel's hand, there was silence. The good kind, the kind that says, maybe we are learning. Years passed. Daniel Crane grew up not with silver spoons, but with lullabies and bedtime prayers from both his father and his mama Ruth. At his high school graduation, he said, "The richest man I know isn't my dad. It's the woman who taught me how to be held, how to forgive, and how to love without walls." Sometimes, the most shocking act is love, quiet, fierce, undeniable. Ruth didn't just nurse a child, she nursed a broken man. And the world saw healing, not scandal. If this story touched you, share it, because someone out there needs to believe healing is still possible, even in a mansion of silence.